Welcome back to the show. So glad to have you here today. We're talking about fearless marriage. Ask your wife these 3 questions. And it takes courage to ask these questions, by the way. It's not for the faint-hearted. I'm going to get to them in a second. But first, just thank you so much for being part of the 10 Million Legacies movement of Be Courageous Ministry. Resolute Man podcast is a very important part of that. We appreciate every time you share anything from the ministry, especially giving reviews on Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you listen. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, though, because we're putting a lot of videos there all the time. Both podcasts are there from the ministry. Every single week there's new episodes, lots of shorts, lots of different things, and it helps us to be able to do more with YouTube when you subscribe and share and so forth. So anyways, I really appreciate it. Also, make sure you get your Resolute Man-ifesto, 8 principles of being a godly man in a world that increasingly hates masculinity. Really concrete, to the point. Get that download at resoluteman.com and all the episodes as well. So, hey, fearless marriage. Do you have a fearless marriage? Or are there some things that you don't want to ask your wife? Are there questions that you move away from? Maybe one of these questions today will be challenging for you to even ask. But I promise you this, if you ask these 3 questions, you will move your marriage in a better direction. You will be a stronger team. She will feel more connected with you, which is essential for you to maximize your effectiveness together and really enjoy your marriage. Now, everybody's marriages are in different places. Maybe you're just good, right? Maybe it's not so good. Maybe you really feel like it's going great, but there always could be improvement. Maybe there's devastation. But you know what? No matter where your marriage is, we have a good God, and better is always possible, right? So that's what we're pursuing, and I encourage you to really take to heart these 3 questions and weave them in. It's not like you're going to rattle them off all 3 at once with your wife. This is going to be a conversation without the kids, and you might just do one evening. You might do another a couple days later. Maybe there is an opportunity to share all in one evening as you're discussing things. But that's for you to decide. That's for you to discern as the leader in your marriage, right? You're the leader of your family. And we want to embrace that. In fact, one of the most important aspects of leadership is taking initiative. And that is exactly what asking these questions will exude from you. Your wife will appreciate it so much that you've taken initiative to ask her these deep questions that probably most people don't usually hear. You're like, well, give me the questions, Isaac. I will. This isn't going to be a very long episode. First, I want to just say, hey, we got some great episodes coming up, some incredible guests. I just interviewed a CEO of $100 million plus company. He's done all kinds of incredible things, and the content of that discussion, I can't wait for you to have it. I also have an upcoming interview with Aman from Africa. He is a pastor, he's an entrepreneur, and he's really bringing more vitality to Africa through stirring up entrepreneurship, which is so cool. Instead of it being a charitable donation-based country, he really wants the economy to thrive through entrepreneurship, and he's one of the people doing that. So I can't wait to have him on. So make sure you subscribe to get these episodes every single week. I'll pop on here just myself once in a while because I have things on my heart, but these guests are powerful. They're awesome people. You're not going to want to miss it. All right. So communication matters, right? So here's the first question. What's been on your heart lately? Now, you might say, hey, Isaac, that's not so difficult. I ask things like that. And I go, well, do you ask it when no kids are around, there's no distractions, and you're looking her in the eyes, and you're just waiting for her response? Phone is not near you, no distractions. You're literally undivided attention looking at her, asking, hey, what's been on your heart lately? Whoa, that's going to be a great discussion. Now, sometimes, wives have way more words. I'm making a generalization here, but they have way more words to get out than men do, right? Women have more words to vocalize. They just do. They're just made that way for the most part. Not every situation, but for the most part. So naturally, like when you get off work and so forth, there's probably a lot of words coming at you and you're listening and so forth. And so to ask a deep question and invite even more, you might be thinking, that's going to be a lot. That's going to take all night. But you know what? The more proactive you are with your wife, the more you're also steering and leading those conversations into even more meaningful things. And pretty soon, you're really going to enjoy it even more. So I encourage you to be proactive. So, what's been on your heart lately? Ask that. Ask follow up questions. Listen intently. Discuss. Spiritual things might come up. A desire for something in the family, a desire for a vacation, or maybe something about church, or maybe it's friendships that she wants to talk about, or maybe it's your marriage, maybe it's issues with the kids, behavior, challenges, concerns she has. Maybe it's about food and making sure we have enough of it, of the right foods and these kinds of things. You know what I mean? It can go all different directions, but she is going to feel so good when you're taking that kind of initiative and following it up with sincere, genuine listening. Okay, the next one. This one really does take courage. It takes massive courage, actually. And the question is, how can I lead better? Whoa, mic drop, right? That one is inviting criticism. At least that's how it's going to feel, right? And I would encourage you, let's take this to the business world for a second. In the business world, you have employees, you have people working for you and so forth. If you have a company, or people that report to you in a company that you have a leadership role in. And so those people think things about you. They think good things, and sometimes they think not so good things. There's areas where they think you can improve. There's areas where your leadership might rub them the wrong way, certain personalities and so forth. And so what I learned a long time ago is I would rather hear it directly from them so I can open up a deeper conversation with them and invite that versus them talk to other people about it or just increasingly become discouraged in their workplace. In the workplace, the number one thing an employee thinks about is, what does my boss think of me? And so if there's some kind of rub with your leadership and your influence and it's not discussed and you're not welcoming it without getting defensive, then that could deteriorate into a bitter root or gossip about you in the office. So now it's not quite the same thing with your wife. She's mature. She's a believer. She's probably not going to gossip about you and so forth. But you never know. There is a temptation, by the way, to talk about you with her girlfriends potentially if you're not addressing these things and welcoming insights, because she's going to feel like she needs to get wisdom from somewhere. And it's best if you're able just to talk it through. So how can you lead better? How can I lead better? And listen. If you think you're just going to get lots of darts thrown at you, another way you could phrase it is, hey, babe, I really want to work on my leadership in the family and in our marriage too. And I would just love to hear one thing. What is one thing I could do better? Then it's focused on one thing, not lots of different things. Maybe you do that again down the road. But that's a little safer route to go. But if you're super, super courageous, if you're super resolute, you're just going to say, hey, how can I lead better? I love your feedback. Boom. And listen. And don't get defensive about things. Even if some things are slightly off in your opinion and so forth, listen long. Listen long. You're nurturing your marriage. Even though in the moment it may not feel like it. In the moment it may feel like, wow, this could have been a great evening, but I had to ask that question. Now we're discussing hard things. If you don't discuss the hard things, they're gonna blow up down the road. You're potentially allowing discord in your marriage team. And a divided team can't conquer. A divided team can't lead well. A divided team can't nurture a legacy that is going to stand firm against the schemes of the enemy in this crazy world. So it's really important that you're leading well and you're always trying to improve being a leader. That shows a humble heart attitude, and you're opening up the doors for comfortability in your wife speaking to you about these things. You know, my wife tells me all kinds of things I could do better at times. And I appreciate that. Sometimes it's hard to hear, but you know when it's the easiest to hear is when I invite it. So you can either invite it or you can hear it later when she's exasperated because she hasn't been invited to talk to you about it. So I would encourage you to ask that question. How can I lead better when nobody else is around, and really listen to that? A great scripture is in Colossians 4:6. It says, "Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how you ought to answer each person." So maybe look up Colossians 4:6 before you ask that question. Maybe say a little prayer before you ask that question for God to give you that right words, for you to be walking strong in the Spirit. I think that's pretty important. And the third question I have for you today is to ask her, how are your friendships going? Because on the outside, it could look like she has lots of friends. But on the inside, she might feel very lonely. I think it's a common thing these days that most wives feel pretty lonely, even if they have lots of connections and lots of supposed friends. But remember, Proverbs 17:17 says, "A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity." So does she have friends like that? That even when there's a disagreement or a lifestyle difference or something like that, that friend sticks close no matter what? I think today a lot of people experience friends that don't stick close when adversity happens. And you want to encourage your wife to find those kinds of friends, to find friends that are biblically minded, that will run the race with her. So I would encourage you not just to encourage her to go out with a big group of ladies, although that can be fine sometimes, but instead maybe get together with one and take a walk and encourage her to go deeper in that relationship with that person that she wants a deeper relationship with. See, she will need to be an initiator too with her friends, but she may need that encouragement from you and space and time to go do that. I got it. I'll watch the kids. You go hang out with so-and-so. You go do this thing. You go to that Bible study. Think about productive places and people that she could spend time with that are like-minded, that are going to want to go deeper when she tries. You know, one of the things, obviously we run a parenting ministry, Courageous Parenting. It's part of the ministry. And so we get a lot of feedback about, what's going on in families and marriages, wives and husbands and all those things. And it is really common to hear that women try to go deep with friends and it backfires and it doesn't go very well. So she's going to need that encouragement from you to find those like-minded people to run the race with. It doesn't take too many, but everybody needs a few. So encourage that. Ask how friendships are going. Encourage her in who she is. Sometimes when we're lonely and we feel like we don't have close friends, if that's your wife, then sometimes we start thinking about ourselves and wondering, is there something wrong with me? And so you're there to encourage her, to help her understand who she is and remind her how awesome she is. Now, we all could get better at relationships and friendships, and I'm sure you and your wife could too. I know I could, and I'm sure my wife can too. So it's important to be humble about that, but you're there to encourage her. So the 3 questions: what's been on your heart lately? Look her in the eyes and wait. Don't fill the silence. Let her fill it and listen long. How can I lead better? And the third thing is, how are your friendships going? Wow. If you get all those in 1 week, you're super courageous. That would be incredible. If you get all those done in 1 evening, wow, that would be pretty wild. Probably a long evening, but you might go deeper in conversation than you have in years or maybe ever. I encourage you guys, your team, your marriage team needs to be stronger than ever. You need to be the initiator in your marriage to make it stronger. You need to be walking strong in the Lord, in the Bible, praying to God and praying for your marriage and praying with your wife. There is no time to spare in this world, right? The enemy wants to attack your family. He does not like what's good and what's growing in the right direction. And so the more you lean in and take initiation, you also need to pray for protection over your marriage and protect your marriage as well. So I hope this was encouraging to you. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, and if you love it, share it.